Yeah, and again, thank you very much, Andreas, for agreeing to speak today. And so, for watching, one of the nice things of what I get to do from here is see people popping in and populating the room since they've been effectively thinking back, feels like 100 years of churning the channel for people to get into the room, and we're watching them uh, jump in as they go. So I'm doing a little bit of vamping on that. But and then Brian, can you make that full screen? Or Andreas has got his whole slide deck ready. It's your presentation. So we'll have you run that. Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, why don't you do that? So I'm going to start up and say, welcome to our 10 o'clock session with Andreas Eckelstein. I want to get it right. I mash every Eckelstein. Yes. And so, again, thank you for agreeing to speak with us today. We had a great session with you last fall. Again, all of our sessions are recorded in the sessions tab, and you can go look, search by speaker, and you search by date. And so there's upwards of over 50 different sessions. So the online virtual portal is now a great resource for people looking to enter, distribute, or invest in the greater Chicago region, but really learn about the different communities, the different countries, the different companies, and the local resources that we really have here to help you make an investment in the greater Chicago region and then form new relationships as you're looking to expand your local company abroad. And with that, Andreas, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and go through your slide deck, and then we'll continue along talking about your program, and then we'll move into the three companies you brought today. So go ahead, Andreas.
Thank you very much for the warm intro, Michael. Yeah, it's a pleasure, like always, to work with you. I just figured out we've been working together for 2 years now, so that's a good start. And I hope that 2021 is better for all of us. Yeah, today I'm very honored because, like you said, trade is not a one-way street. It's always great if you bring companies from one country to another. My regular job is to help US companies set up operations in Germany, especially Niedersachsen, because we think it's a top business location in Europe due to different factors, which I'll consider later on. And today I'm very honored to bring three young companies from Niedersachsen as well to the table, which are working in very interesting fields, I would say. So we've got two companies which I would put into the renewable energies, partly combined with artificial intelligence, and an agri-tech company also combined with artificial intelligence. So these are sectors which might fit very well to the Midwest. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to see what we can bring to them later on. Now let me start with some facts about Niedersachsen. It's Germany's second largest state. To get a geographical glimpse, we've got 8 million inhabitants. We've got 21 universities. And yeah, we are very rich in R&D, and we've got some sectors which are prominent. But before I come to that, let me say, the US is still our most important trade partner, which is wonderful because, yeah, we've, like many other countries, there was the hope that China is helping our economy a lot with trade, but yeah, it's been the other way around. So China didn't improve our trade deficit a lot, and our trade with America is much more balanced, and it's even increasing. So that's a good point. And we've got some strong industries in Niedersachsen which are comparable to the ones in the US, and sometimes pose opportunities for US companies to move to Niedersachsen. And also, like I already said, in the renewable energy space now, with the Biden administration coming up, we got contacted by several of our companies, especially in the wind offshore field, but also hydrogen, which say, okay, we see, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities for us. The offshore wind market is just starting in the US. There will be some projects in the East Coast, this year, and we've got the technology because we've been developing it for more than 30 years now. It's been, it's nearly on the shelf in Germany. So they look forward to bring this to the US. And as it's easy to see, a wind turbine is too big. So most of the time it doesn't make sense to build it in Germany and ship it all the way to South Carolina. So it might be more useful to build it here. And especially the Jones Act even requires some shipments of local parts. So I think this is one industry which will be booming here in the next year. Then our seaports help us a lot because we're shipping all the goods from Germany and we also import them. And our seaports are still keeping busy besides all the COVID downsides, which is also hitting Germany, I have to admit. Mobility is another strong factor. We have Volkswagen in our state as well as Continental and a lot of very active suppliers. And as we enter the stage of more electromobility and the self-driving car, there are more companies looking to expand to Niedersachsen. And even we lost the battle to get Tesla to Niedersachsen, but now they built their factory just 100 miles away from us, which is perfect for us because we can get the suppliers to Niedersachsen, even though the plant is in Berlin-Brandenburg. We are also strong in the food industry. Sometimes, Niedersachsen is compared to the Midwest because we have also many pigs, and that relates always people to say Niedersachsen is kind of Iowa, which I'm not 100% sure, but from the number of pigs, we are very compatible. And food processing is big in Germany, and we have many exchanges with companies in milk powder, vegetables, dried potatoes, and cooking ingredients, I would say, which look to expand to the US. We even have bakers from Germany who always say, okay, we've been to the US, but the bread doesn't taste the same and it's much weaker. So they still seek opportunities to buy mills here in the US and enter the market with buying into mills and setting up shops. Another topic which is prominent in our state, and it's also, I guess, partly because we've got strong universities and we've got the Hanover Fairs, which is one of the big digital trade shows in the world. It's going to be totally virtual this year in the beginning of April. And we've got companies from all over the world who come to Hanover and explore the newest tech and find out, what's driving the industry. This week I'm attending CES, and I have to admit that the companies, who show the newest product there, I've got the impression they will be also, most of them, at Hannover Messe. So Hannover Messe and CES, that's the place to be if you want to see digital high tech. And that makes us very proud because for some weeks over the year, Hanover is very international because companies from all over the world normally fly in. This year we'll have less people flying in, but we'll have much more visitors online, which makes it also easy because if you just want to try out a trade show you've never been before, you save on costs for traveling, which we heard before, and also tickets are cheaper, and it always gives you a good glimpse to just try it out and see if you can be successful there. This is also one of the good things about, I think, about that we are turning more to digital now, and we are trying out new concepts. And as I have my office together with Hannover Fairs, and we've got a good team working here on the North American Commercial Vehicle Show and Interschutz, and also on Hannover Messe, which will be in Chicago next year. It's always helpful for companies to try out trade shows because it's also my biggest lead source as for foreign direct investment. I've looked a lot into other companies selling me leads for international investment, but what I figured out, it's always a combination. So they look at the companies who've been to an international trade show, which you can get for free from most of the trade show organizers. And the second link is they look for publications about the company telling you we're interested into exporting into an international market. And that's also a source you can get for free because when these companies get to it, it's also already in the media. So if you put up a Google alert, you'll get the same information for free. And yeah, I'll just can encourage you to come to our trade shows. I'll invite you, and we've got great spaces, and we can connect you with people. And it's always entertaining to meet so many people and get the news inside at trade shows. Due to the self-driving car and the automated car, lightweight construction is also a strong topic in Niedersachsen as well in aerospace. Even though Airbus and Boeing have little problems at the moment, we see that they are focusing on lightweight as well as on hydrogen. So new materials play a big role. I was very happy to see that Chicago is opening up a new facility and invest 9 million into wet spaces in biotech, because we've got more than 50 very innovative startups in this space in the life science sector. And we've got 3 companies who just raised between 10 and 50 millions who are looking to expand to the US. And some of them are in the COVID focus. And so this is a hot topic. If you're in that, you can easily expand internationally and be very attractive for investors at the moment. For those
Great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's all right. No, just sometimes you're clicking out a little bit, but I think we'll have a good transcript of everything as you're going. And it's great to hear about all the different trade shows and all the different things, Hanover Fairs USA has been doing and the things you're doing. Tell me a little bit more about CES. I was looking at some of the new things yesterday, but tell me about how that event feels now that everything's virtual.
It's different, I have to say. It's hard to see some products or not to feel them. That was better last year in Las Vegas. But I think especially in the automotive sector, where you can show the products and the invention, like the big screens or self-driving or the new Samsung car, that's the field which shows up very well.
And yeah, and I saw some of that as they have the rolling screens. Yeah. Oh no, I think you're right.
With mobile phone, and there was also a lot of new products into the cleaning industry. But yeah, I don't know if that works well for direct investment.
Well, true. But I think some of this too is everybody that's engaged with what we do at Select Chicago and as road warriors that have been on the sidelines for the last year are trying to understand how new technologies are able to help bridge that gap until we can all meet again. And this also goes back to a shout out to Hanover Fairs USA and your team, Andreas, because but for working with you, we wouldn't have found this technology to be able to bring this program together. And so it's just again, thank you to Kara and Sarah for the hard work that they did last summer. So with some of the other trade shows, I mean, before COVID locked you down, you were out almost 4 times a month to different trade shows.
More than 20 trade shows all over the US, and yeah, it was my best source of leads for international development. But, yeah, so I tried to bring this into the virtual world, but I have to admit, yeah, it's hard to if companies can't come to Germany within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, they lose interest. I think it's the same for many of investment partners all over the world.
Oh, we agree. I mean, everybody has the attention span of a goldfish, which is 7 seconds. But for going and meeting face to face and knee to knee and circling back through a trade show through a multiple day occurrence, it's been a tough slog. Getting people engaged and networking is if somebody's more of an introvert in the show, it's really getting out and getting in front of people to understand what they're looking for. So you're just not broadcasting what you do all the time. So tell me some of the other fairs you've been to in the last 6 months, and what have you liked about some of them? What have you not liked about some of them?
The last 6 months, I've been to automotive trade shows, battery shows, biotech shows, and I think it's coming back to the concept which you told early on. So some of these trade shows are very well if they plug into a system which is live and which is entertaining. And some trade shows have been very boring because people were just uploading presentations and giving a frontal speech, and that didn't make me happy. So we have looked at more than 40 international providers for these trade shows, and yeah, very happy that you choose Feedloop, which was one of our top three, because I think it's entertaining. You can jump, you have breakout sessions, and that's what makes my life easy and entertaining to get into contact with smaller groups.
Oh, absolutely. And what we've seen, and I've been to a dozen as well, and having active breakout rooms. We're a little bit challenged with that right now just because we've now gone to this the monthly program with the hopes that by summer we can be doing these in a hybrid fashion. But I've seen well moderated breakout rooms. I've seen horribly moderated breakout rooms. I think what is your opinion on completely having virtual plazas where you get to dress your own avatar and you have a lobby and you are moving through a 3D virtual space to engage with people?
Yeah, I've tried that, but I'm not sure if that works very well for our purpose, because in a later step it all comes back to numbers and a business case. And if I'm the blue guy running virtually as an avatar through a trade show, I'm not sure how serious people take me in the next step. So yeah, we our team has tried it, but we were not too convinced about this way. But I think it's good
No, you're right.
to try
Go
out
ahead.
several components and yeah, keep twisting and use the best cases which work for you.
Absolutely. Feed Loop does have a full 3D plaza, building that we could do this here, but I found it just really the technology at this point is getting in the way of meeting people. And with our business, it is a relationship business, and it might be a good way for an icebreaker. But when we're doing something a little bit more, I guess serious is a better way of phrasing it, is you want to get beyond the gimmick to getting to the meat of talking with people and getting to know if there's going to be a fit.
Right. I think it's also very hard for the location search, because if I show companies from Niedersachsen different locations in and around Chicago, but they've never been there, so it's hard for them to choose. And I think it's only possible if you get them to the ground, and then like with Brötchen Automation, we go together to Elk Grove Village, and they think, okay, this is a nice fit, and Chicago helps me to get favorable terms, and that makes close a deal.
Yeah, I don't think you could do a larger deal virtually. You're hiring somebody locally who's gonna need to commit to running that operation. And I remember back in my urban planning days in graduate school, there was a book called Edge Cities, and it really had this primary rule of site location, which was the headquarters is going to be within 20 minutes of where the CEO lives, unless there is another factor that overrides that. But I've talked with many different CEOs and many different people who are coming to the States to set up shop, and honestly, they really want to be where an easy commute from the C-suite to that location. And you really just can't do that virtually. I mean, we do a lot with our partner JLL and looking at drive times, but until you drive the territory, you're just, for international investment and for our economic development professionals in the room is, the virtual presentations are great, but at the end of the day, it's these people wanting to come here, get a feel for what it is. While it is a numbers driven approach, at the end, it's got to come back to total fit for really the C suite and then the labor. But as we're talking more about trade shows, oh yeah, go ahead, Andreas.
Also the trust of the CEO, because he wants to meet the person who's helping them to get located here, but he also needs somebody he trusts that will be still there in the next half year after he opened up his shop. So yes, it's a people business, and people want to shake hands. I don't know if that changed in the future, but yeah, and they need somebody on the ground they can trust. And for our companies, I also see they want to have entertainment as well. So being close to Chicago, which is normally a bustling city and there's a lot going on,
Mm-hmm.
that's very important. I think, yeah, the 30-minute drive to downtown Chicago, that's very compelling to, as well as 20 minutes to the airport. So what you're saying, the 20-minute rule is very important for our companies.
It is. And what I think too, and what you've seen with the trade shows is hopefully again, crossing our fingers, we might be to the other side of this in a year from now. And what are some things you're planning on doing in 2021 to uh, meet those needs and explore the trade shows? How are you going about that?
Yeah, we're trying to switch to hybrid so that some people meet in person and others join in virtually. I think that's going to be our plan till the middle of the year. And hopefully, after the middle of the year for September, we've got trade shows going on in person. And yeah, we hope that life is back or more back to normal and that the vaccination efforts are quick enough.
Yeah, what's the current status of Hanover fairs in Germany? Because normally it's the third week in April.
It's yeah, we are having the fair in the third week of April, but it's also going to be digital. They are looking constantly right now, I think, at CES and try to figure out what is working good and not so good, and yeah, try to bring up the best cases to the Hannover show in April.
Hmm. Well, and I know for us, we're trying to go hybrid by ideally before June, but I think a good date is our July session, is our hopefully our first hybrid session, and that would be in Arlington Heights. And so it's definitely something that is challenging. What we found when we were trying to roll this out last year was, how do you do a hybrid event? How do you have an audience? How do you have cameras? That was a whole skill set to learn. Uh, how do you engage your audience? And then and a real question I have for you, Andreas, is how do you do follow up? How has follow up in trade shows changed from the in person to all virtual?
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, we follow up via mail and via telephone, but yeah, it's not the same. Otherwise, with very promising prospects, I would just visit them, but that's not working at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and how have you found? I mean, it was interesting. We just had the session with Ginta and Richard, and since I mean, I've known them both for many years now, so it's very easy to just slip into conversations with them. But when you are promoting and meeting somebody for the first time, how has that changed with virtual trade shows?
I would say it's getting tougher because yeah, this level of trust which you can normally build up, it's very hard to get it in a virtual world and nearly impossible. So our hope is that this will continue not too long and that we can switch back to normal or hybrid. But hybrid has also sometimes a problem because of the time difference. So if we've got a trade show going on in Hanover, it's normally yeah we've got 7 or 8 hours time difference. So our employees have to work much longer in Hanover if the US wants to be on board. And
Oh,
same with
agreed.
Asia, we're trying to bring in Asia as well. So the employees have to be up at 4 in the morning, and some have to come back, yeah, around 8 in the evening to accommodate all our needs.
Oh, I agree. When we were doing our pitches with Poland last fall, we tried to make it line up with their early evening, and so it wasn't going into the lateness of the day. Versus when I was doing some on an online event in Estonia. I mean, I think I would have had to be up at 2 a.m. to get the first keynote of the day, and I get up early, but 2 a.m. is not recommended for me.
And that's also one of the drawbacks of the automated networking sessions on trade shows, because I'm at a trade show this week as well, and they always mix me up with other people which have similar interests, but many meetings are 2 or 3 in the morning. So yeah, the algorithm is not perfect. So that's also one field we see. The digital world still needs improvement. It's going in the right direction, but to make it really convenient, there's still a long way ahead of us.
And how is the matchmaking working? Select USA, which is the annual United States trade show for EDOs and foreign direct investment, it will be virtual this June. And one of the wonderful things that they had within that was their matchmaking program, where you would be able to set up times and meet directly with somebody for that time. The question just becomes, how has networking and matchmaking worked out in the virtual world?
I guess you get many more matches, but you get less dates in the end. So it's a numbers. I would call it a numbers game. But the good part is you can do much more research in advance and find the companies which might be a proper fit. But yeah, you have to dig deep.
Okay, so what are some tips that you have for people that are looking to do networking of, in this environment?
What we figured out, it always helps to have a presentation on hand, because like, yeah, in earlier times, if I told somebody the Niedersachsen is #1 in automotive, yeah, that sounds great. Most American states say the same for a different sector, but you have to see some products which are locally produced. So presentation helps a lot, I think, in the virtual world of 30 minutes.
Okay. Now let's learn. So tell me some more about Niedersachsen. I mean, every time we've talked, I'd like to learn more about it. You were talking about it as the Iowa of Germany, but
And that was a comparison just to the number of pigs. No, we're different, say, from a number.
Okay, so tell me more.
We've got 21 universities, so education is a very big part of us. We are digging more into the startup scene. We've got 12 startup hubs, so we are bringing startups from Niedersachsen to the US and the other way around. So that's very energetic and going good. Automotive is a big sector. We've got Volkswagen, and now with the electric car, as Tesla is coming near to our headquarters, also the R&D on the Volkswagen side is improving, so they will be also more active. And all of our suppliers are looking at fields where they can improve. And Niedersachsen is very nice from the nature standpoint. We touched on tourism, but yeah, it's very green. We've got the North Sea for holidays. We've got some small mountains like Wisconsin. So it's also nice for holidays.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me more about the labor pool and the age and the training of folks.
Yeah, I think a big advantage of Europe all over, or mostly Germany, we've got these apprenticeship programs. So most of the labor is higher educated, as I would see it on this stage in many other parts of the world. So we are training people for 2 years in a factory, and so the company who set up operations in Niedersachsen most of the time don't have to pay for this training, because it has already happened and it was paid for the state and partly by the companies in Germany. And we've got a lot of high qualified people in universities. I was just bringing a company from Silicon Valley to Niedersachsen because they said that the people in IT in Silicon Valley on an average of $200,000 at the moment, and we get the same people with the same qualification for $50,000 in Germany. It's not as cool as Silicon Valley, but yeah, it's the business case from the cost saving is very obvious.
Yeah, well, you ran the West Coast office for a couple of years, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It was.
How long?
Yeah, I've been to the West Coast, I think, for 6 years, and it's very different from the Midwest, I have to admit. The companies are more high tech, but I guess, or I see you've got more use cases for real products here on the ground. The market for a European company looking to expand international, the market potential is much bigger here. If they want to do high tech R&D investment, perhaps there the use in Silicon Valley is more than in the Midwest. But if they're looking for the sheer market size, that's astonishing here. I had some companies from Niedersachsen who had an office in the Silicon West, but they had problems because they didn't find the people who bought their products. Now I took them to 2 trade shows in the Midwest last year, and they said, okay, we've got more sales than in Europe and in Silicon Valley than we got in 10 years. So the Midwest has a different advantage. And I also think the mentality is different. People here are more open to new ideas. They in Silicon Valley you get pitched so many ideas, so it's harder for a German company to stand out. And Americans are much better, or most of the time, better in pitching ideas. So with the language difficulty and with the art of pitching, it's easier to get the interest of the CEO in the Midwest and to get a use case here.
Yeah, is that more for a product or a service or a technology?
Good question. So yeah, at least for products, yeah, but people also expect services here. So products and services, yeah, which are comparable.
Okay, so and I think that's one of those things that we see in the Chicago region. And again, the Chicago region, because we're in the center of the country, it allows us easy access to every part of, honestly, from Canada down to Mexico, from New York to San Francisco. And so that just, as Richard was saying last presentation, we're selling transportation here. And so that does lend itself to more durable goods or products. But it's great that you're talking about services, because it's not just people developing code and selling code around the world, but it's services that are the people that train the trainers, and the services that are helping people grow their business. It's definitely a different piece when your focus is on the tangible versus the virtual. So I'm just kind of curious of, as you're having companies that are looking to come into the West, the question is, what types of businesses are coming from Niedersachsen to the United States, and why are they looking to come this way?
Oh, we nearly had every industry, I would say. So in my 2 years, we had aerospace, which just opened up an office here in the Midwest. We have manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing. Excuse me. We had just 8 manufacturing companies who set up operations with us in the Midwest, in the Chicagoland area, even I would call it, in the last 6 years. We have companies from chemicals, which make it over here, and also biotechnology. So yeah, most of the time they are looking for new market opportunities, and that's where Chicago fits right in, because we've got direct flights from Germany to Chicago, and I can pick them up from the airport, and then they're on the road to success here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, walk us through one of the companies that you've helped here and what that whole process was like. I mean, when we move on to working with the 3 companies in a couple of minutes, it's, when we're talking with these companies, these are their first forays into coming this way. But I think it's important that we try to reiterate that these are long, long processes. They're not overnight sensations. So why don't you talk to us about some of the companies that you've had come to the United States and what their road was like?
Yeah. I take a recent example of a manufacturing company. So the CEO called me and said, yeah, I just spent holidays in Florida. Weather was nice. I see Americans could buy our product. So should I open up offices in Florida? And that's how we got started. And as we were talking closer, I saw a better fit for his product and also for the labor force in other places of the US, because it's always or many times a soft factor which gets people started in the US, but then the hard factors also come into play. So even though we don't have that much sunshine here in the Midwest, but when I look at manufacturing, and all our manufacturing companies from Niedersachsen have located in the last 8 years in the Midwest. So that was for me a clear go where I said, okay, why don't we look more closely in the Midwest instead of Florida and pitch several of the states? And that's always, I think, a good way to do it, to kind of shop around, I would call it. So to get a first glimpse, to see I always like to start with 3 states in the Midwest to see what is different and where their offerings are. Then what happened? Something which is very prominent, I think, in the US, that they try to get German companies with tax incentives. So many EDOs offered him tax incentives, and he was very much focused on one state due to tax incentives. But I had to convince him, or I was talking to him, if you don't have sales partners, tax incentives don't help you that much. So it's also always a struggle for me, I would say, because in Europe you don't get tax incentives, so it's not up on their lists until they come over to the US, and then they hear it and they get too much focused on tax incentives, I would say. Because as you don't have your suppliers, as long as you don't have customers, tax incentives don't help you. And that's one of the points which I always look at, that you've got distribution partners, that you've got sales partners, that you've got customers, and that you also have a great location, because it's easy to offer a company a location in a greenfield location in the middle of nowhere, which is cheap and tax incentives, but perhaps it's not the best way to start a business. So, and
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and some are growing. I mean, you and I are talking about one company that is looking to expand into the Midwest, and you and I haven't had time to circle back on that. And when they are growing to that next level, it's really important for them to know what they're looking for. Like this case in point of the company you and I are talking about right now offline is the height of the warehouse, proximity to a cluster, proximity to either a railhead or a runway. So when these companies are coming across,
they want to ship their manufacturing products overnight to the customer. Logistics is very important, and that's where cargo is a big plus with the airport, the railway. So the connection to FedEx, DHL, and to get their products overnight or next day to the customers is very important as well.
mm-hmm, versus if you're a bigger piece of machinery, we were talking to somebody who's looking to open up a facility here for manufacturing, but his units are the size of a refrigerator, and that's not something needs to be an air freight next day, but it definitely could go by barge to get to where it needed to go as well. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, okay. Yeah, after the first step, I think it always helped these companies to get a first glimpse. So which are the states which might be relevant for their product? And then also the next step is to look at the cities, because most European companies, they want to be located closer to bigger cities. So it seems like Chicago, Milwaukee, and Indianapolis, if we Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, might be, because I think one point is always important. These companies, they want to fly in from Germany, and especially if they start the business, their management team is flying in frequently the first half year. So after they fly for 8 to 10 hours, they don't want to drive for 5 hours. So it's important to get them, within a 1 or 2 hour reach of an airport.
Right, and that's actually how we drew the geographic bounds for the greater Chicago region, is what would compel somebody to go to a different airport to then fly direct to an international destination. because once you get a little bit beyond, say, Springfield, Illinois, you might drive to St. Louis, but you still have to fly through O'Hare in order to get out to Germany. There might be some flights in St. Louis, I'm not relatively sure, but there are so many direct flights out of O'Hare Airport, making this, when you are on your flight, you're going to get to your destination. And so that's one of the reasons why that's about the geographic limit of the area of influence for the greater Chicago region. And as you're talking with people, Andreas, what have they found that they liked best about this region?
It's a bit hard for me at the moment to say it, because there was a normal world with the normal downtown life of Chicago. So that was also a big factor which came into play, that the company said, okay, there's so much going on in downtown Chicago. So they like the direct flights, they like that there's a railway, they like the freightways, but they also like entertainment, and there are many good office buildings as well as warehouses around here. So that was very compelling.
Okay. Well, that's good. So what I want to... Oh, good sports, yes.
It's more soft factor, I would say, but as a German company, you want to experience the American life. So it's very good to go to a football game, to a baseball game, or even watch catches all the interest which is not allowed in Germany, to go to a shooting range. So our CEOs want to do something here which is not normal in Germany and which they can't tell everybody back home, but which leaves a big impression on them. So the soft factors also come into play.
I always forget how important it is for these international guests to come in and go to a shooting range. Because I've grown up with them all my life, I never think twice. Uh, but the idea of being able to come to the States and shoot a gun I've never really understood how much that is a draw.
It is a bigger draw than I expected, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, and so what I want to do now is let's finish up a couple more minutes talking about Niedersachsen, what you do, and how you like and what you like doing with Select Chicago. Then we'll move into the first of the companies. I'll have you introduce those companies one at a time. We'll give some time for them to talk about their company and see how we can learn more and provide some resources. So, Andreas, why don't you talk a little bit more, look about what you're looking to do in 2021 in the Chicago region, and we'll start there.
Perfect. Yeah, for me, it's very important to understand the manufacturing area here better. I'll visit more companies, if possible, from Germany, and I talk to them and say, why did you choose the location? What made it so prominent for you? How can I help you to expand here? So we've got some Niedersachsen companies who are looking to expand in this area, and we've got some new companies who want to come over. And it's my biggest hope that I can get them some in contact with US EDOs at Hannover Messe, and later on get them over to Chicago in September or October. And as we're having some trade shows here as well, I think that's the perfect timing to get them to the Chicago area.
Yeah, why don't you spend a minute or two about ITMS and what that is, and because we were supposed to be doing a really big ITMS show this in September, and that kind of went poof. So, what is ITMS? What is Hanover Fair's relationship with that, and what are some goals you're looking for 2022?
Yeah, right. You already say our goal. We postponed it, unfortunately, to 2022. So IMTS is the biggest manufacturing trade show here, and we are co-located with IMTS. So we are partners. We try to fill the booth and also bring in all the international companies, because that's one of our main goals, which we've seen, that companies who already exhibit their products in Germany successfully, they want to come to the US, and we help them to set up operations here and get them to the trade show grounds. And the response until now has been great, because companies say, okay, we're making so many connections at IMTS or Hannover Fairs, Messe USA, and they're very thankful. And most of the time we invite them to our office here, we tour with them through Chicago, and we want them to get into contact with the EDOs on the ground, and that's helpful for both sides. So yeah, I was very much looking forward that Select Chicago would do their boat tour together with us, and hope it will happen the next year, because I think that's the best which you can do. You've got a trade show with this long and gives you many prospects, but then to meet also the people who live here in a nice atmosphere afterwards, that helps to warm the heart for Chicago, and that also makes my life easier. So
Right. And I think what the big takeaway from this is a trade show isn't really that time on the floor and that time in a seminar. It's that third space that you're meeting new people, that before or after that event, you're getting to know them in a social setting. It's a 2 to 3 day type of an experience. And it's going to be a long, long time until everything can be 100% virtual. We're social creatures, and we really need to be in social circumstances to build that rapport that leads to trust.
yeah. And what I also like about trade shows are the spontaneous contacts. So if I go from Niedersachsen to Hannover Messe USA, and we would talk, then you could relate us to somebody else from Arlington Heights Village and say, why don't you tour Arlington Heights tomorrow? So this spontaneous connection, that's what I miss most about digital trade shows at the moment, because everything has been very organized, and we have clear plans, we have goals, but the best connections sometimes just happen on the run. So I'm missing that. But we are very hopeful that 2 trade shows will happen this year in the US. So we've got the North American Commercial Vehicle Show in Atlanta in September, and we've got the Interschutz, which is firefighter and police equipment trade show, in October in Philadelphia. And yeah, more shows will happen in the Chicagoland area next year. So we'll have to work with you on that. And yeah, we are having a positive outlook.